Today we celebrate the memorial of Saint Jane de Chantel. Now, like yesterday, we celebrated Saint Clare, who was a disciple in some ways of Saint Francis of Assisi, a spiritual companion of Saint Francis of Assisi. Saint Jane was a spiritual companion of Saint Francis de Sales. She was actually a spiritual directee of his. And so I always said, if we ever build a new church here in home of Thibodaux, since our cathedral is the patron of St. Francis de Sales, it should be St. Jane de Chantel Church, because you can't have a St. Francis de Sales without a St. Jane. St. Jane was a very holy woman. She was a very unorthodox vocation in her life. She was of a noble family. She married a husband who was a duke, and she bore him 6 children until he actually died suddenly in a hunting accident. And through her raising children, she had a different vocation later on in life. She met St. Francis de Sales, and through the vocation discerned that she should start a religious order. Not any religious order, a religious order that was founded on the principle of accepting women that no other religious order would accept. Older women, women that would never, make it in other religious orders, widows. And so that's what their religious order was based on, the visitation nuns, as they were called. And they also had an outreach to widows, to women that were poor, old, elderly. One time she even accepted an 83-year-old nun into her religious community. So a woman accepting an 83-year-old nun must have really seemed, or really emphasized, being able to trust in God, to be able to accept these women that nobody else wanted, in a sense, and do work that nobody else wanted to do. And that's what we see in our first reading today in the book of Deuteronomy. We see Moses trusting in God, leading the people as far as he could go, as far as God allowed him to go, and then giving the reins over to Joshua. And then God showing him the kingdoms that Joshua would eventually conquer, the kingdoms that the Lord went before Joshua that he would help them conquer. And so it was very interesting to see in our own lives how we have to trust in God, how we have to give our will over to God, how we have to, in our sense, lose ourselves to God. Saint Jane had this favorite theology of losing yourself to God. She had this famous quote. She used to say, "Throw yourself into God as a little drop of water into the sea, and lose ourselves indeed in the ocean of the divine goodness." Sometimes in our lives we have to give up control. We have to realize that God is with us, that God is going before us. And even we don't know how things will come out, we have to trust and have faith in a God of goodness, in a God who loves us, in a God who wants to save us, and a God who gives us the grace to operate, to do His ministry in our lives. But it's only done through prayer. It's only done through trust. We can't trust in God, and we only trust in ourselves. We can't really go about being good disciples of Christ. So today, let us pray for the intercession of Saint Jane de Chantel, that we can be good disciples, that we can trust in God, who loves us and wants us to do great ministry, wants us to be good disciples, wants us to accept His love and His trust and His direction in our lives.